Hello everyone, I'm Baruffy1322 and welcome to this analysis video for the best fully upgraded cars in GTA Online series. So in this video we're basically going to be looking at some interesting findings that we saw throughout the series, introduce a few things as well, and basically just go over a few things of what we saw and some interesting facts that we might have uncovered, and just generally have a little bit of a discussion about the series. So the first thing that I'm going to introduce is a spreadsheet. So as you can see here, this is our spreadsheet, and basically this contains all the information from the testing that I did. So this is just sort of the introductory page, if you like. The introductory section basically informs you about what the spreadsheet's all about. A few links here and there to the intro video, for example, for the series, which explains more about the testing. This video as well is linked to explain more about the spreadsheet. It's just basically a landing page for anyone who hasn't seen the videos, doesn't know what's going on. It's just basically a bit of information there just to explain it. It makes sense to have that information there so people actually have a bit of a background of where all this information came from. So that's what you'll see when you first click on the spreadsheet, and down the bottom here are the tabs. So you've got the info tab that we're on now, then all cars, all bikes, all vehicles combined, and all vehicles by class. So we'll click on all cars first of all, and I'll scroll down a little bit so you're for those of you who haven't seen the video, just so nothing's spoiled. So yeah, at the top here we've got overall position. Now that is basically the positions that we saw, the positions that we went through throughout the video from 140th all the way to first. That is listed there, and all the cars are in that order. And then we've got the class position here as well. So in each individual class, for example, the sports, say for example 118th place, we have the Peyote, and that is our 10th best sports classic car. So you've got the class position and then the class here as well, all sort of put there ready for you to just sift through. Then obviously the next column is the vehicle column, which obviously gives the name of every single vehicle in the game. And then we have the lap time next to that. So these three, the three columns here are sort of the main columns, the class, the vehicle, and the lap time, all in order of lap time on this sheet. And yeah, that's basically the bulk of all the information that we saw throughout the videos. Then we've got some extra information next to that. So the next two columns are basically the drivetrain and the number of seats. So obviously the drivetrain, that's self-explanatory. That's whether it's all-wheel drive using all four wheels, or in the case of the Dubster 6x6, all six wheels. Whether it's rear-wheel drive, which is RWD, or front-wheel drive as well. So that's FWD. So that basically shows you what drivetrain each car has, so you can just a bit more of interesting information there. And then the seats tells you how many people you can fit in every single car. So the Romero Hearse, for example, you can fit 2 people in. The Ingot, you can fit 4, and that basically goes up all the way through, and all of this information is available for every single car in the game. Then the next 3 are all about cost and how much it's going to set you back to actually use these vehicles in races. So the first column is cost to buy, and that is, some of these vehicles that you can buy, you can also find on the streets. Now I've just put in the cost that it is to buy it because that's the most simple way. But basically, if you go on any of the in-game websites, you can buy the cars that are listed here for the prices that are listed. Obviously, some cars you can't actually buy as well. For example, the Tornado in Sports Classics, you can't actually buy it. So it technically costs nothing to get, but you do have to find it on the streets, which is a bit more of a pain. So that's that column explained. And then the next column is cost to mod. So that's how much it costs to fully upgrade each vehicle. Now that isn't including all of the cosmetic modifications or anything like that. All that is the minimum cost that it is to modify it for it to be useful in a racing situation. So the cost that you're seeing in this column is basically brakes, maximum engine, maximum transmission, maximum obviously turbo, and then either a spoiler or not a spoiler. So that is basically all it is in there. So it's all of the performance upgrades. That's how much they will cost. And generally there are basically 3 or 4 different levels of cost, and most cars fall into that section depending on whether they've got a spoiler or not. So as you can see, these 3 cars here, for example, they all cost exactly the same to mod up. The Dilettante would be exactly the same, but it doesn't have the transmission available to it. So yeah, it's just an easy way for you to find out how much this is going to cost you to mod up to be able to be used in a race. It will cost you more if you want to put various other modifications on, such as different tires and things like that. But that is the absolute minimum that it will cost for you to race. Then the cost to race column itself is actually the cost to buy plus the cost to mod. So that is basically the minimum cost to race any one of these vehicles. So how much it costs to actually buy it, then the minimum cost to mod it up for it to be competitive in a race, and that gives you your total cost to race. So if you want to get a car on a budget that's sort of got a reasonably good pace within a class, but you are on a budget, then you can use this cost to race column to find out which car is best for you. Then after that, we've just got a few extras, which is spoiler. That will either be yes or no, as you can see here. Well, yes or blank. And then other notes as well, which just basically give you some extra information for some different cars. For example, the Cavalcade here, you can have a newer model is also available, but it has identical performance and stats. Same with the Rebel. The clean version's available, but it has identical performance and stats. This is basically everything that we've gone over in the video, but just put there just so there's no confusion throughout the course of the looking at the spreadsheet. So basically, this is the entire collection of all the cars and all the bikes in the game, and it's basically everything that we've seen in the videos put into spreadsheet form. Now, if this is the first video that you're seeing in this series because you saw the spreadsheet first and you've clicked one of the links to get a bit more information about it, feel free to go and watch the videos. They are quite entertaining. People did seem to really enjoy them. So, you can click the links in the description or wherever you've come from, watch the videos first, and then have a look at the results in the spreadsheet form, because it will probably be more interesting to do it that way. But either way, it's quite an interesting series to watch anyway. So yeah, they're all the cars, and then again here we have all the bikes. Just to point out that the top line here, that will always stay there. So you can scroll up and down, and that will always stay to the top, so you can know what you're looking at. And that is the same for all of these sections as well. So that was all the cars. Then we have all the bikes, of course, that we've just seen in the previous video. Then we have all vehicles combined. So this is the bikes put in with the cars. 160 vehicles in total. It does change a little bit because it's interesting to see that the out of the top 38 vehicles, 15 of them are motorcycles, which is quite interesting to see. So that does change up the order in sort of as a whole. But yeah, it's just basically this sheet is the cars combined with the bikes as well. And then finally, the last sheet is that all vehicles by class. So that's basically, every vehicle sorted in their class and ordered with how quick they are in their class as well. So, as you can see for the vans, we've got all the vans there listed in the order of the time that they achieved as well. So you can easily see which vehicles are the best in each class. Although I do intend to make some videos on those as well, but we'll just see how it goes, and I will explain a bit more about that later on in this video. So there you go, that's the spreadsheet that you've all been asking for. I hope this is helpful to you guys. It does include a lot of information there over and above what we found from just the videos and lap times. It includes drivetrain, seats, how much it costs. A lot of information is in this spreadsheet in lots of different forms as well. So click the link in the description. You can go and have a look at that. If you find it helpful, you can spread it around. You can spread the videos around first as well. Whatever you want to do. And I really do appreciate the support that you've shown. So I'll just put up some racing footage here. This is from an earlier version of the Cutting Corners GP track. It's just a random bit of racing footage. Whilst I talk a little bit more about the series itself, have a bit more of a discussion about what we saw throughout the series, and a bit more analysis on the vehicles that we saw as well. So the first thing that I really want to say is thank you so much. All of the people, all of you who watched the videos, commented, shared them around, liked the videos. It's been absolutely mind-blowing. When we went through each video throughout the course of the series, it was just getting higher and higher views every single time. And I think that from the 6th to the 10th placed video, that actually got 1,000 views in the first hour that it was up, and that was easily a record for any video that I'd put up. And then the top 5 video comes up and gets 1,600 views in the first hour, gets 1,000 views in the second hour. You know, it's been absolutely mind-blowing, the support that you guys have shown, the comments that you've given. I've really enjoyed reading all of the comments. I spent about the best part of an hour, sort of 1 o'clock in the morning, I spent an hour going through all the comments on the top 5 video, just because I wanted to, you know, respond to most of you guys as much as I could, let you guys know that I am reading your comments. I really did find it interesting throughout the whole season, the whole series, as we were going through people's different predictions, thinking some cars were better than they were, and some not really underestimating some other cars as well. You know, it was just so interesting. I really enjoyed putting these videos out there, and I really thank you so much for the support. It's been absolutely mind-blowing. I've never experienced that on any of the videos that I've released, even the original series as well. So I just want to thank you guys so much for the support. It's been absolutely fantastic. I think it was a bit of a risk, I guess you could say, to release them in the way that I did. You know, everyone was used to having them in their specific class videos, so all the best supercars, then all the best sports cars. Everybody was used to that, and I think a lot of people were expecting me to do that as well. I took a bit of a risk to sort of do this big countdown all the way from the slowest to the fastest and mix them all in, but I think it paid off. It made it a lot more interesting, a lot more entertaining, and it seemed like a lot of you guys really got that excitement building for each of the videos. You know, you really wanted to see the next video. The excitement was really building as we got to the top 5. So I hope you all enjoyed it. I really do appreciate all the support, like I said, and I can't believe the support that you guys have shown. It's been mind-blowing. So what does the future hold for this series? Well, it's very much dependent on what happens for next gen. So one of the first things that I'm going to do when I get the PS4 version of GTA 5 is take some of the cars that I've tested here that I still own around the same track and see what kind of lap times they get. Now, the best case scenario is that all of the lap times are exactly the same, so that, you know, the physics of GTA haven't changed. The cars react in the same way. There are no different modifications in Los Santos Customs that will affect performance, all that kind of stuff. As long as that's all the same, I can do a lot with this series. Obviously, I'm going to be testing out the brand new cars for GTA regardless. You know, regardless of what happens, I'm going to be testing those, so keep an eye out for that. But in terms of what else I can do, if all of the cars are exactly the same in terms of performance, there's a lot that I can do. I want to do specific class videos, which will then also include sort of all of the new cars as well. I want to do sort of different videos that sort of give you guys an idea of the best valued cars. So the ones that are the cheapest but give you the best lap times, sort of the best rear wheel drive cars, the best front wheel drive cars, the best 4-seater cars, 6-seater cars, lots of different interesting things like that. You know, the best electric cars, for example. I've got lots of different ideas for videos that I can make that give a bit of a different slant on how to choose your car, and it doesn't necessarily always have to be about the class that you in each video, in the class system in GTA. So there are a lot of ideas that I have to do videos like that, and I think they would be very entertaining, but I can't do it unless all of the lap times for next gen GTA stay exactly the same. If they do, then that's great, and I'll just get straight on with doing that as soon as the game comes out. I do have a lot of ideas for things that I want to do for next gen, but that's sort of a different video entirely. But yeah, that would be the perfect scenario. If, however, I take those cars around the track and the lap times are a little bit different, physics have changed a little bit, there's some different modifications in Los Santos Customs that give extra performance, that sort of thing, I don't really know what I'm going to do just yet. Testing out all of these cars took months. You know, it took a long time, a lot of effort, a lot of hours of just pure testing the vehicles, but also then editing and recording the videos, things like that. To do it all again is a pretty daunting prospect, so I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do, but I will always keep you informed on the best cars to use. You know, it's always going to be the part of my channel that's consistent, is that you're always going to know the best cars to use, regardless of whether, you know, I just put up one video showing the best car in every class like I've done before, just after some limited testing. I will keep you informed as best I can. So it all very much depends and hinges on what next gen does, but again, I'll keep you informed about all of that stuff as we go through and as next gen hits. So let's have a bit of a discussion, a bit of analysis to finish off this video on some of the more interesting parts about the series that we saw. I think possibly the two most interesting and the most surprising aspects of the whole thing are focus around two cars. One is the Unfairness getting so high, and one is the the Adder getting so low. So first of all, let's deal with the Unfairness. The Unfairness is extremely quick, but you have to know how to use it. You know, the Unfairness does require a bit of a specific driving style. It doesn't like to be off the power and off the brakes at the same time. It tends to spin out a lot easier by doing that, but you can really use the brakes going into the corner. So you just want to be braking really late and braking all the way to the apex of the corner, then getting the power on. If you do that, the Unfairness will give you some great lap times, but I think that was one of the biggest surprises in terms of cars that were higher than what people thought they should have been. And then obviously the Adder tended to be the opposite of that. It was a lot lower than what people thought it was. Pretty much everybody that I saw, almost everybody, put the Adder at least in the top 10. Some had it in the top 5. You know, the Adder was definitely the one that fell from grace a lot more than you would have thought. So the reason for that is just that it didn't have the spoiler. You know, it never really had the traction to deal with the power that it has, and with the spoiler, without the spoiler, it just lacks that traction that it needs to be with all of the other top supercars and indeed the top sports cars as well. There are much better vehicles available on the tracks like this, but the Adder is still usable on those long highway races if that's the sort of thing that you like to do. Another interesting thing I think was how far up the order that the coupes got. I mean, the top 20 cars were sort of dominated by sport cars and supercars, as you would probably expect, but 21st, 22nd positions were coupe, the 25th position was a coupe, the 28th position was an off-road vehicle, and the 29th position was a coupe as well. And they were mixing it up with sports cars and supercars, supercars in terms of the Bullet. But it's interesting to see that once you get past that sort of top 20, it does get there is a lot of variety around that area. And even as you go further down, I think there was one point in the top sort of 50 area where we had 8 different positions and 7 different classes of car. And that really just shows how sort of broken the class system is. You know, you can't have it where there's some cars that are completely impossible to use in their own class, but if you were to rearrange those classes, they would get some really close lap times. You know, for example, there was some areas where we had 1 second separating sort of 7 or 8 different cars, and that was sort of true all the way through the field. You know, there was a big gap sort of from the top car all the way to the bottom car in terms of lap time, but throughout the field there were small gaps between some different cars. You know, and I think it does mean that Rockstar should be looking at these class systems, and I want to make a video on that in the future as well. That I think when cars become fully upgraded, they should go into different classes. So, you know, GT1, GT2, GT3, A, B, C, however you want to do it, but rearrange the classes so that every single car in that class is usable. Yes, some may be off the pace by, say, a second or something like that, but that's nowhere near as bad as what it used to be, and it would make every single car in the class usable. So you could use every car that you wanted, you could use your favourite cars to race in whatever class that you wanted, and I think that would make a lot more sense for Rockstar to do. You know, for example, you've got sort of in 51st position you've got the Monroe, and then 52nd position you've got the Gauntlet. Now the difference between those two in terms of lap time is only half a second. Why can't you race those against each other? Because the Gauntlet and the Monroe on their own can't do anything in their classes. The Monroe is way off the pace of the Sports Classics, the Gauntlet is way off the pace in Muscle. Why not just make a different class where you can race those against each other? You can throw in the Buccaneer and the Penumbra, even the Schwarzer and the Oracle in front of it. You know, there's so many different possibilities with a new class system that would allow every single car in the game to be usable in a racing situation, it makes sense to change the class system for that, because really at the moment, all it is just sports, supers. It makes very little sense in terms of performance, and it gets to the point where there's only sort of 3 or 4 different cars that are usable in a racing situation when you're racing against good people. Obviously, when you're racing against randoms, chances are you can use any car. You can probably use a Futo and still win sports races, just because people crash so often. But you want to be able to use lots of different cars in different classes when you're racing against good people. At least I do, anyway. I think one of the interesting things that I found as well was that compacts are so slow. The compacts are kind of on the same pace as the SUVs. If we take away the Huntley S, which is absolutely completely dominant in SUVs, the Rhapsody and the Baller would be sort of the best compact and the best SUV, and they are only 1/10 of a second apart from each other. So it's interesting to see that sort of those are probably the 2 slowest regular classes, not including the vans or the utility vehicles. Those are the 2 slowest regular classes, and the best cars in their classes are pretty much identical, taking away the Huntley S. And they're so different as well. They are tiny little compact cars, really big SUVs with the Baller, and they're pretty much identical lap times, and it would be really interesting to race those as well, but we can't do it at the moment. So yeah, those are just some findings that I thought were interesting. You can obviously have a look at the spreadsheet. There's a lot of information in there in terms of cost, drivetrains, number of seats, and you'll just see all of the vehicles in order right there in front of you, so you can sort of see different aspects of the videos, and where cars come, and some interesting aspects of how close some of them are. And there are some really tiny gaps between a lot of the different cars. So yeah, just have a look at the spreadsheet. The link is in the description down below, and have a look for yourself and see if you can come up with your own interesting findings as well. If you do find anything interesting, or you thought of something that was interesting as you watch the videos, let me know down in the comments below as well. Let me know these interesting things, the things that you thought were interesting or surprising as well. So again, thanks a lot for watching, everyone. Thanks a lot for all the support throughout the series. I really can't thank you enough. It's just been absolutely amazing to see. Stay tuned for the channel. There'll be some more racing content before next gen hits, and then we're going to go hard with the PS4 version of GTA 5, and we'll see what we can do with that. So thanks a lot for watching, everyone. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.